second question is, we talked about individualism and that how we like this new generation, it's focused about themselves and being individual. So my kids are young. So raising our kids in a collective community, would that help? For example, me telling them, your actions are very important and affects our family and our community. Would that, me saying that, am I guilt tripping my kids? Am I trapping them? Be like, oh, don't overthink things or don't try new things because you know that thing is going to hurt our community and our family. Using these kind of words, are they guilt tripping or really make them understand their boundaries?
Very good question. So I look at it from a psychological point of view. So the way if I understood your framing correctly and help me make sure I understand you correctly. So you're saying your choices are going to impact the family and the community. Are you saying that behave correctly or otherwise the family is going to be embarrassed and the community will be embarrassed? Is this what you mean?
And that's why that's it kind of, because like growing up in a Arab household and Arab community, it's always that saying is like, do not act this way. You're going to bring shame to the family, or, you know, like having that mentality. And of course, I want to be away from saying that. I don't want you to feel like you're ashamed or anything, but how would I bring it to my kids that your action would affect the family? Of course, we're going to love you the way you are. We're going to love you wherever you do. But still, I want you to be cautious of your actions because it has effect on the family, on the community, on your religion, without really having that burden inside them that, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
So I really appreciate you asking this question. Really, really appreciate you asking this question because that's sometimes I get the young people in high school and in early in college, and this is the thing that hurts them the most. Not the most, but one of the things that really bothers them is when the family is connecting and saying, oh, don't do this because it's gonna embarrass us or embarrass the community or embarrass the religion. And from a psychological point of view, this is kind of called external motivation, and the external motivation is not as effective as internal motivation. So I'm going to invite you, because you're talking about you want to minimize the individualistic trend in the child, right? You started talking, okay.
That's what I've been noticing in teenagers and Gen Zs, for example. It's their individualism, and they just think about them. Whatever action they do, it doesn't matter what the family goes through or the community goes through. They think about themselves. And I don't know if it's that statistically right that they identify as gay or lesbian just because they want to have something different. They want to identify as themselves without really thinking what's the consequences having on the people around them.
So let's go back to your original question, which is how do I minimize the individualistic tendencies within a child and make them more doing the interdependent? So we do
without the damage we would do as what our parents or our previous generation did to us and to the Arabic, like to culture we grow up in, that guilt tripping. If you don't do this thing, we're going to be devastated. Every action you do, it's going to affect us. How we encouraged, we are working as a family and collectively and not just individually without the guilt tripping and the psychological trauma after.
Yeah. So the number one strategy to do that is actually to have the child face the ramifications and consequences of their actions. And it starts early. I'm not talking about punishing them, but I'll give you small examples just to hopefully you will get the idea. Because what happens sometimes in our community is we cater so much to the children and we overdo for them when they are little, And then when they grow up and become teens, they have been used to being catered to and taken care of so much that when they're older and we're asking them to help, they look at us like, okay, you flipped on me. Okay, that's not what I'm used to at home. I'm not used to doing anything at home. I'm used to you taking care of me, and I am the king and the queen of the house. And now you're asking me to do things for you. So you get resistance. So from early on, we want to teach children to help around the house, even in small chores. Like, don't do things for children that they can do for themselves. For example, the other day, I went with my daughter-in-law to pick up my grandchildren from school. I have one in preschool and one in kindergarten. So they come out from the classroom, and then my grandson, who's in kindergarten, he hands me his backpack. I hold his backpack. I walk with him, a few steps. His mom, she stops him and she says, "You need to carry your backpack." That small thing is like teaching responsibility and teaching that you are responsible for your thing. You can't have your grandma carry your backpack. This is like a very small example, but multiply this by many interactions in our daily life. This is how we show kids the impact of their behavior on us without us saying, don't do this because you're going to embarrass us. No, we're going to focus on responsibility. We're going to focus on, for example, another one is giving them allowances, because allowances and sticking to the allowance, not over giving. Like if they run out of allowance and come and ask us for more money and we give them more money, we're not teaching responsibility. We're not teaching them how to actually also be aware that we are not, we're not a bank that has endless amount of money. So what I'm trying to say is there are many instances in our daily interactions. We can get the children to really understand the impact of their action on everyone around them in a very respectful manner. And that's how they learn that they are not the kings and queens of the family, that they are not living, that the world doesn't revolve around them, and that they need to take care, or they need to pay attention, to the needs of the people around them. There are many, many other ways of doing it. And it's, the time right now doesn't help, doesn't allow me to go into it. But I'm emphasizing responsibility. Having them having them own responsibility for what they need, they can do and can take care of. That would help them actually be more interdependent and less individualistic in their tendencies and their inclinations.